Hidden billionaire CEO discovers love when heartwarming heiress helps him. You won't believe what happens next. In the heart of a bustling Midwest town, Jake was more than just a CEO. He was a man with a mission. At 32, he wore the weight of expectation like a heavy cloak. Raised by his father, a war veteran whose health was crumbling, Jake toiled day and night to uphold their family's legacy. The factory hummed with a rhythm echoing his dedicated spirit, but few knew of the hidden wealth that buoyed him. Jake had learned early to decorate his life with humility, fearing that revealing his status would shatter his connection with the townsfolk he cared for. But can a heart that hides so much truly love? On a sun-kissed spring afternoon, everything changed. Emma, the charming heiress, returned to her hometown. Years away had honed her yearning for authenticity, a life unburdened by the expectations of wealth. As she volunteered at the community center, her efforts radiated compassion, drawing people into her orbit. When her path crossed with Jake's, it was electric. Their first meeting was awkward. He stumbled over his words while her laughter rang like a bell, reticent yet captivating. She saw the determination in his eyes, and he felt the warmth of her heart. Yet, underneath that magnetic pull lay a tumultuous clash of worlds, one fighting to save face in poverty, the other wrestling aspirations from privilege. They began working together tirelessly, painting murals for the children. That first splash of color unveiled the kind of connection that was rare in a life built on sacrifices. Jake found laughter again, and Emma felt seen for the first time in years. Their late-night conversations brimmed with dreams and fears, intertwining their souls. Yet, as they grew closer, whispers in the town brewed like dark clouds. Jake's fear of truth hovered overhead. Would his wealth become a barrier? Would Emma slip away if she learned that the humble man in front of her was a billionaire hiding behind the facade of struggle? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The stakes rose when a town meeting erupted with intensity. Voices rose as doubt clouded the air. Emma stood, torn between family expectations and her heart's choice. And Jake, compelled to defend their bond, felt his chest tighten when accusations flew. Suddenly, he froze. In that moment, a pivotal secret from his past, one he had long buried, came rushing forth. The boy who had sometimes felt inadequate next to his father's heroism realized he owed it to himself, to Emma, and to their shared community to reveal his truth. Could love really conquer the invisible divides between them? As they teetered on the edge of vulnerability, the truth could either shackle them apart or catapult them toward an unknown future. The question hung in the air, resonating with the spirit of a town that thrived on hope, urgency, and resilience. Would their nascent love withstand the weight of hidden realities, or would it crumble beneath the pressure of expectations? As the shadows of doubt loomed, Jake and Emma prepared to unearth the truest version of themselves and each other. Jake could feel the tension thickening in the hall. The harsh fluorescent lights did little to dispel the swirling emotions. He looked at Emma, her brows furrowed in concern, as she scanned the crowd. He knew how much this moment meant to her. She loved this town, and the dread of losing it, or him, was palpable. The murmurs of doubt intermingled with excitement, vibrating through the air. Martha, an elder of the community, stood up, voice firm and unwavering. We all know Jake. And we know Emma. But do we truly understand what this means? Jake's heart pounded against his ribcage. He couldn't let this moment slip away. The urge to speak surged within him. He rose to his feet, feeling every pair of eyes shift toward him. I have something to say, he began, his voice shaky. Emma shot him a look filled with encouragement, yet worry danced in her gaze that he took a deep breath, seeking strength in that familiar face in the crowd. I want to be honest with you all. The words flew out like erratic sparks from a fire. I love Emma. And yes, I have a life that's different from what you may know. Gasps rippled through the crowd. His jaw clenched, the weight of their reactions pressing down on him. But he couldn't back down now. When I say I love her, I also need you to know that I didn't build my whole life with money. I built it with the same sweat, struggle, and hope that each of you carries. The murmurs mingled with whispers of confusion. He's hiding it. What else has he been hiding? Just when he thought he might collapse under the pressure, Emma stepped beside him. You don't know how hard it has been for him. Her voice rang out clear, slicing through the noise. Jake is not just some businessman. He's fought through hardships, the kind that are rarely spoken of. Her voice carried conviction that sent a ripple of understanding through the room. As she spoke, Jake felt his chest lighten. There was beauty in her bravery, a spark of truth that now fostered courage in him. Together, they break down these walls of doubt. One by one, faces softened. Jake could see the gears of understanding turning, slowly, their walls were weakening. As Emma's words wrapped around him, he unfolded memories of long nights and weary mornings, each a drop that filled the bucket of who he was. Vulnerability was blooming, but then, in the back of the room, his father's frail figure emerged. The sight stopped Jake cold. This was the man who had taught him the value of honor and humility. Jake's heart sank at the thought of revealing everything, but it had to happen. Dad, he whispered, a choking emotion tethered to his throat. I need you to understand. But his father seemed to have his own weight of judgments. You've changed. The words cut deeper than any critique. This isn't how we do things. Jake's heart dropped. It was now or never. He could either stand tall or be swallowed whole by his past. Have you ever let people see you fully? You always taught me to be proud, Dad. The room quieted. If I can't share this part of me, how can I ever be truly happy? As silence permeated the hall, Jake dug deep, trembling with the intensity of raw emotion. The tension made it hard to draw a breath. Would he truly lose Emma? Would his father, a man he loved but also feared, ever accept him? All eyes were on them, waiting. Jake took a step forward, each heartbeat echoing in his ears. It was a moment fraught with everything he had ever hidden. I'm not just a CEO, I'm your son, and I need you both to see the truth. And as the weight of those words lingered, Jake felt like he was standing on the precipice of everything he had ever feared and desired. The air was thick with anticipation, and he realized that this moment had the power to change everything. The question pulsed in the background, a heartbeat against the silence. Could transparency be the glue that binds their hearts or the shackle that tears them apart? The hush was almost deafening. Jake could feel the pulse of anxious hearts in the room, mirroring his own racing thoughts. Emma's presence beside him felt like an anchor in the storm swirling within. She steadied him in ways words couldn't express. Then, Martha's voice sliced through the silence again, bringing everyone's attention back. When you say this, truth, Jake, you are opening doors. But what are you afraid of losing? It was a gentle inquiry, but it struck a nerve. He glanced at his father, who stood rigid, disappointment etched in the lines of his face. What was it that kept his father's heart so shut? Jake inhaled deeply, the space entwined with tension that could snap at any moment. I'm not afraid of losing money or stature, he finally said, searching for clarity. I'm afraid of losing the love I have. I'm terrified of losing the only real family I have, the community around us and my father. From the corner of his vision, he spotted Emma's eyes glittering with unshed tears. Family can mean many things, she added softly, her voice touching that raw nerve inside him. Jake, let them see who you truly are. Sometimes, the heart finds family in unexpected places. Is that true? He thought, feeling a swell of hope. Perhaps vulnerability could transform this moment, letting love redefine what family meant. Instead of hard-set expressions, he craved understanding. Jake is a part of this community, Dad. Just like everyone else, Martha continued, her voice woven with compassion. He's been through more than you know. The murmurings around them simmered down as she spoke, but Jake couldn't help but focus solely on his father. You think my journey's been easy? He pressed. I'm not just some face in a suit. I've faced losses that brought me to my knees. I'm scared every single day that I'll fail everyone I care about, including you." His father shifted, a glint of uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "But that doesn't mean you have to change who you are," he said tightly. "You can be proud without being so open." "Proud of what?" Jake snapped, unable to keep the frustration at bay. "Of hiding half of myself? Of pretending that parts of me don't exist? I want to do that. I can't." With a deep breath, Jake gathered his thoughts. They all stood on the brink of something enormous, and he needed to embrace it fully. "Dad, I love who I am becoming. It's not just a title or wealth, it's love, truth, and the courage to be vulnerable." His father took a step back, a brief flicker of pain crossing his features. "This isn't how I raised you. Maybe it's time to reevaluate what you taught me," Jake replied softly. "Embracing who I am doesn't mean I'm lost to you. It means I'm finding myself, and I want you with me." The tension remained, twisting like a coil around them all. Jake could hear the murmurs of the crowd starting to come back, their voices lifting in discussion. Some nodded in agreement, others wore expressions of concern. It was all too clear they feared change. But amid that crowd, Emma reached for his hand, her grip reassuring. The warmth flooded through him, igniting the flicker of hope anew. He turned to face her, and in her gaze, he found comfort and strength. The question hung poignantly in the air. Was their love strong enough to weather the storms ahead? As Jake regained his breath, a sense of defiance built within. Could he help everyone, even his father, understand that love could bridge old wounds? But as he searched the room for affirmation, a shocking voice broke through the steady rhythm of his thoughts. "But what if what you've built isn't really worth saving?" Jake's stomach twisted with anxiety. He turned slowly, panic rising as he faced the newcomer, unsure of what their revelation could mean. Would he lose his community, Emma, or even himself? What awaited beyond this pivotal moment? Jake's heart raced, the words echoed in his mind like a thunderclap. The crowd shifted, their attention turning toward the newcomer, a spirited woman with fiery red hair and piercing green eyes. She seemed out of place yet somehow captivating. "I'm sorry, but who are you?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if challenging the very air between them. "I'm Rachel," she said, her tone bold and unapologetic. "And what I'm asking is crucial. You've spent all this time building your empire around wealth and success, but at what cost? Does it truly reflect who you are or who you think people want you to be?" The crowd murmured, a mix of intrigue and shock washing over them. Jake felt heat prickling at the back of his neck. "This isn't about that," he shot back, fighting to maintain control over the chaos blooming inside him. "I've worked hard for everything I have." "Hard work?" Rachel scoffed lightly, folding her arms. "Or a carefully crafted facade? Money can shield you from loss, but it doesn't protect you from pain. You're at a crossroads, Jake, and you can either cling to these walls, or you can break down the barriers and let people in. That's what it means to love." Her challenging gaze bore into him, and it felt as if she reached into his soul, peeling back layers he'd hidden for so long. The truth of it, though scary, sang to him a subtle vibration of hope that he longed to embrace. "Rachel," Emma interjected, stepping slightly in front of Jake, her protective instincts flaring. "Your words seem harsh. He's worked damn hard to get where he is. You don't know his journey." "Maybe not," Rachel acknowledged, her voice softening slightly. "But sometimes, knowing someone's journey doesn't mean we understand their destination. What awaits you on the other side of vulnerability, Jake? That's what truly matters." The honesty in her voice struck a chord deep within him. He turned to Emma, searching her eyes for affirmation. He found it, but he also glimpsed a flicker of uncertainty mirrored in her expression. What would happen if things took a turn? Would they still be on the same path? Or would the weight of truth fracture their bond? The crowd seemed to close in tighter, their whispers morphing into a collective breath, waiting for Jake's response. He felt pressure mounting, expectation, fear, hope all swirling around him. "Maybe you're right," Jake finally muttered, squaring his shoulders. Maybe I've been so focused on building my life that I've forgotten to live it. I don't want to be just a name in a boardroom, I want to be real. I want to connect. Rachel smiled, an encouraging light breaking through her intensity. Now that's the first step. Before Jake could gather his thoughts, his father stepped forward, a cautious frown etched on his brow. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. But if this is who you want to be, I won't stand in your way. The unexpected shift in his father's tone caught Jake off guard. Maybe there was still hope. Maybe they could reconcile the past with the truth Jake was ready to unveil. Dad, Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. I want to share my life with you. I don't want to hide anymore. Murmurs rippled through the crowd again, but this time they felt different, aware, supportive, even excited. Jake stole another glance at Emma, her eyes shimmering with welling emotions, but Rachel wasn't done yet. Then show it. Let them see you, not just the title or the achievements. Show them who you truly are. Jake took a deep breath, the weight of what lay ahead churning in his stomach. Could he let go of the identity that had shielded him for so long? The moment was rising, and he needed to embrace it fully. What if they don't accept me? He thought, suddenly struck by a fear that coiled around his heart. As he took a step toward the crowd, the limits of his previous self loomed large behind him, but the seed of courage began to take root. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, the doors swung open, and an unexpected figure stepped inside, one that Jake never thought he'd see again. The room quieted, eyes darting. To the new arrival, curiosity melding with confusion. Did you really think you could get away with this? The figure asked, drawing closer, their intentions unreadable. The tension escalated, uncertainty thickifying the air. Jake felt as though his newfound resolve could shatter with one misplaced word. Who was this person, and what did they want? Jake's breath hitched in his throat as the figure advanced. Familiarity swept over him like a surge of ice water. It was Sarah, his estranged sister. The last time he'd seen her had been at their mother's funeral, where anger and words unspoken lingered like storm clouds. Sarah, Jake managed, the crowd around him fading to a distant hum. What are you doing here? No need for the theatrics, Jake. Her voice was icy, but her eyes shone with something deeper, hurt or betrayal. He couldn't tell. All he knew was that whatever he had built over the years felt fragile now, the foundations suddenly shaky beneath him. Did you come to ruin my moment? Jake shot back, feelings welling within him. She shook her head, stepping closer, forcing him to meet her gaze. I came to warn you. You think you can just pretend everything's fine, step into the spotlight, and suddenly be the man everyone wants you to be. But you're not. You're still hiding, just behind a different curtain. The crowd shifted again, hanging on every word exchanged. Jake could feel Emma's tension beside him, her eyes darting between him and Sarah. What do you know about it? Jake snapped. You turned your back on the family too, dropped out without so much as a goodbye. Funny, Sarah replied, her voice steady. You want to talk about turning your back? What was I supposed to do when you, the golden child, took everything? The business, the acclaim, even the love, Jake. In that moment, something cracked open inside Jake. Her words were laced with truth, and buried memories of their childhood flashed through his mind like an old film reel. None of it was meant to hurt you, he whispered, the defenses he had built crumbling. I thought it was what Dad wanted. You thought? Sarah repeated, audibly incredulous. Can't you see it's never been what Dad wanted? It's always been about what you wanted for him, for everyone else. You left me behind. In your struggle to become someone else, you forgot who you really are and who we are as a family. Jake's vision blurred, a sharp pain piercing through the veil of his carefully constructed world. This was how today was supposed to go. The space between them felt heavy, and he could sense the crowd's uncertainty, mingled with anticipation. Rachel watched from the side, concern etched on her face. It was clear she sensed the tension and the emotional whirlwind unfurling before them. Jake, Emma finally spoke up, stepping closer to him. You don't have to be alone in this. If your sister comes with a message, maybe you should listen. Suddenly, Jake felt torn in half. He had been grappling with his facade, and here stood Sarah, volatile, raw, and hurt. He glanced at Emma, her eyes filled with a support he desperately craved. Do you honestly want to understand? Jake turned his focus back to Sarah, the storm inside beginning to calm, if only slightly. If you'd let me, I'd like to try. I want to be better. Can we? For the first time, he saw a flicker of vulnerability in Sarah's expression. She hesitated, weighing her options. The heaviness of their past hung thick between them, but a glimmer of hope illuminated what it might mean to rebuild. Then, Rachel stepped in again, her voice gentle yet firm. No one is a lost cause. Whatever choices were made, the past can shape us, but it doesn't have to define us. It takes love and courage to face it. Jake's chest tightened. He was on the precipice of allowing everything to wash over him, the memories, the grief, the guilt, and now the possibility of healing. Let us try, Jake whispered, afraid to say it aloud, so he offered it just barely. But the sincerity behind the words felt monumental. And as he extended his hand towards Sarah, the doors behind them burst open again, drawing looks of shock. A heavy-set man stepped inside with confidence that commanded attention. Will you make me proud, Jake? The man's booming voice echoed like a war drum. Or will this charade continue? Tension rippled through the crowd again, as Jake gazed at his sister. Would she understand his answer? Would he have the courage to stand for what was right, rather than what was expected? The moment hung between them, unbreakable and precarious, unsure of how it would unfold. Jake's heart raced, the weight of the man's presence pressing down on him like an anchor pulling him under. The crowd turned to face the newcomer, whispers swirling like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. Eyes narrowed and judgment pooled in the air. He knew who the man was. His father looming, larger than life, and utterly uncompromising. Dad, Jake said, swallowing the familiar taste of fear. The words felt lodged in his throat, like a stone he couldn't spit out. I'm here for you, son. The booming voice softened for just a moment, but underneath, Jake heard the undertone of expectation. You need to get back on that stage and give the crowd what they want. Prove yourself. Jake glanced back at Sarah. Her expression was unreadable, a storm of emotions cascading behind her eyes. For a single moment, the rest of the world faded away. It was just her. Just him. Could they truly bridge this chasm that had grown between them? Prove myself as what? He croaked, feeling a surge of defiance. As your perfect son? The one who never stumbles. What if I don't want to be that person anymore? The man's brow furrowed, brows knitting together in disbelief. You're throwing away everything I've built? You're about to step into a fate made for you, Jake. Don't you understand? I don't want that fate. Tension coiled tightly in Jake's muscles. I want to live my life, not merely exist to fulfill some legacy. What about Sarah? This mess between us, we can't keep pretending. There was silence, thick and heavy. Jake glanced at the crowd, 100 pairs of eyes glued to him. Some were sympathetic, others judging. All he wanted was to belong. But more than that, he yearned to honor his sister's struggle, her pain. Don't do this, Jake. Sarah's voice broke through the silence, low and unsteady. You've always been the one I looked up to. Just, don't make it worse. She stepped slightly closer, as if trying to tether herself to him through the lengths of grief that had tied them apart. Jake's resolve wavered. He remembered their childhood conversations in the backyard, laughter that echoed under the summer sun, promises whispered under the stars. I want to be the brother I failed to be, Jake confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Can you forgive me? Can we start over? Sarah's tear-filled eyes reflected the flicker of possibility he felt within. She blinked, looking painfully vulnerable. I want to, Jake, I really do. But it's not that easy. Their father cleared his throat, cutting through the fragile intimacy like a knife. Family is meant to stand together. This isn't the time for weakness. Sarcastic murmurs erupted from where the crowd had been hushed. Jake's heart fell at his father's tone, and frustration boiled under his skin. "Dad, I'm done being afraid of you." He shook his head vehemently. "Fear won't control me anymore. You pushed me to be the man I am today, but it's time I discover who I really want to be." The heavy-set man's mouth opened, disbelief flickering across his face. But as Jake's words hung in the air, the tension shifted. People began to stir, heads nodding slowly, approval rippling through like a wave. Could they see it too? This moment wasn't about proving himself, it was about claiming his heart. "Are you ready to stand with me?" Jake turned back to Sarah, hope surging. "This is our chance to heal." As they stood there, a swell of support grew behind them, and he caught sight of Rachel, her smile full of warmth, shining down like a beacon. Love embraced him, wrapping him in the strength he had long lacked, but as the seconds ticked by, Jake suddenly felt the ground shift beneath him again. Unseen doubts crept back into the corners of his mind, wrapping tightly around his resolve. Would he truly have the strength to take that leap with Sarah? Would he be able to face the world and his past, whatever it might bring? The air crackled with intensity as Jake took a deep breath, the moment teetering on the brink. Just then, a commotion erupted from the back of the room, dragging attention away from them. A voice boomed out, fierce and familiar. "Stop this madness. You're not going to throw my brother to the wolves." Heart pounding, Jake looked to the source, dread pooling in his stomach. What now? Would the day's turmoil continue, or would they finally find resolution? As uncertainty loomed like storm clouds, he knew he was navigating a path he could never undo. Jake's eyes bulged as he recognized the voice cutting through the charged atmosphere. It was Alex, his brother. He hadn't seen Alex in years, not since their family had shattered apart in the wake of their mother's passing. "Alex?" Jake's voice was hoarse, disbelief mixing with a desperate need to understand. The crowd parted as Alex marched forward, his face a mix of resentment and protectiveness. The tension in the room shifted like the tide, confusion replacing the earlier hostility. "What are you doing here?" their father barked. "Standing up for my brother," Alex replied, his eyes narrowing at their father. "You're not going to bully him into living the life you mapped out for him. He has a right to choose." The crowd murmured. Hearts beat a little faster. A few people began to clap, turning the awkward energy into something more supportive. Sarah's hand squeezed Jake's shoulder, grounding him as the world tilted. The two brothers, once inseparable, now stood like strangers at opposite ends of a battlefield. Memories flooded Jake's mind, lazy summer days spent fishing, their shared laughter echoing under the stars, and sibling whispers of dreams untainted by the harsh expectations of their father. "Alex, this isn't the time," Jake started, but Alex cut him off. "It's precisely the time. You can't let him dictate your life, Jake. Don't you want something real? Don't you want to be the person you really are?" "But Jake faltered, glancing at Sarah as her hopeful gaze fueled him. "I've wanted to make things right with us, with our family, but what about you?" Alex pressed, stepping closer. "You were never the problem. Dad's the boundary that holds you back." Jake's gaze drifted to his father, who looked mortified, a deep crease forming on his brow. For so long, Jake had craved his approval, yet here stood his brother fearless and raw, ready to challenge their father. "I've tried to live by his rules, Alex." Jake's voice cracked. "I thought it would help Sarah, help us all." "Look at Sarah!" Alex shouted, gesturing toward her. "She needs you to be free, not just some shadow of Dad's expectations." Sarah stepped forward, the light from the overheads glinting off her tears, but her eyes shone with determination. "Jake, please listen. We can't go back to what was. We need to decide who we want to be. Together." Silence hung, heavy with questions. Jake looked at the uncertainty swirling in their father's eyes and then back to Alex. A flicker of rebellion sparked within him, igniting a tiny flame of courage deep in his heart. "Maybe it's time to break free," Jake whispered, almost to himself. He took a shuddering breath, his resolve solidifying. I'm ready to step into the unknown to find out who I truly am. The crowd began to buzz with energy, the air electric like it had been struck by lightning at that moment. Encouragement radiated, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Alex beamed with pride, and Sarah reached out, brushing her fingers against Jake's, anchoring him to a path forward. However, just as Jake prepared to declare his intentions, a chill crept over him. His father's voice boomed again, fueled by a mix of anger and desperation. You don't know what you're giving up. Jake stood tall, straightening his shoulders. Maybe I'll learn. But I can't do that while living under the weight of your expectations. Before hearing his father's retort, a loud crash suddenly echoed from behind them, and the crowd turned as confusion rippled through. Jake felt compelled to look, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach once more. What now? Would the world around him continue to crumble, or did this chaos hide an opportunity for true freedom? The uncertainty loomed, casting an even darker shadow over the bright moment he had just begun to embrace. As the loud crash reverberated through the room, Jake felt the weight of the moment shift. He turned, heart racing, to see a massive decoration toppling from the wall, sending shards of glass and metal spilling across the floor. The crowd gasped collectively, eyes wide with shock. What had once been a storm of emotions now stirred chaos. Is everyone okay? Sarah shouted, instinctively moving closer to Jake, her voice trembling with concern. Amid the mayhem, Alex maintained his fierce posture, eyes darting between his father and the broken decoration. This isn't the distraction you think it is. He called out, challenging the gravity of their father's lingering presence. Jake swallowed hard, torn between the clamor around him and the tumult inside his own heart. He could feel the gaze of the crowd, heavy with expectation of judgment, perhaps, or hope. He could taste the possibility like salt on his lips, tinged with fear. People began moving toward the exit as the noise of retreat swallowed the room, but in the chaos, Jake felt an ember of strength flicker to life within him. He turned back toward his father, who looked as if he had seen the world crash down around him. Dad, Jake said, voice steadying, this isn't about you anymore. It's about me, and where I choose to go from here. Stop. His father loomed, striking a fist into his palm. You think you can just walk away? You're throwing your life away. The words stung, lacerating through the air. Jake's throat tightened, memories of their childhood breaking through the surface of his resolve, the dreams built and shattered in moments of harsh reality. But he remembered more than that. He remembered what it felt like to rise above, even when they were crumbling. A shimmer of defiance lit Alex's eyes. He's not throwing anything away. You're just scared of losing control, Dad. You think that being the strict parent is going to keep him safe, but sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. Caught in this maelstrom, Jake took a deep breath. You don't own my decisions, or my life, he declared, feeling the words pour out, each syllable suddenly heavy with significance. The surrounding crowd murmured, siding with him, transformed by his rising courage. Before his father could respond, a warm light caught Jake's attention. Sarah had stepped forward, hands trembling but face resolute. Jake, whatever happens, I'll stand with you, she said, her voice firm amidst the trepidation of the crowd. We can face this together. A flicker of hope ignited within Jake. He glanced at Alex, who nodded in solidarity, and then back at Sarah. He could take this moment, seize control of his destiny, alongside the two who had shown him what loyalty meant, but just when he thought he might find clarity in the storm, a figure broke through the crowd, a tall woman with fiery red hair, her face etched with urgency. Jake! There's something you need to see. She exclaimed, breathless and frantic, her eyes locked onto his. The room paused, the air thick with anticipation. Jake's heart jumped as the weight of the moment shifted again. What could she possibly want? What revelation could she possibly hold that would change everything? Who is she? Alex asked, tense as he sensed something more profound lay beneath the surface. Jake's breath hitched, an instinctive sense of dread creeping back in. The beating of his heart echoed like a drum in his ears as he stood frozen, the chaos around him momentarily forgotten. Jake, please. The woman urged again, desperation lacing her tone. You need to know what truth would push everything to the edge and peel back layers of their chaotic existence. Jake felt the pull of fate pressing down on him. He was on the brink of a revelation, one that could redefine everything he thought he knew about himself, his family, and the love surrounding him. As he took a tentative step forward, uncertainty gnawed at the edges of his resolve. What were the stakes of uncovering the truth? Jake's pulse raced as he locked eyes with the woman. Her presence was electric, like a sudden storm on a still day. Around him, the tension in the room thickened, each breath feeling like an eternity, as if everyone knew she carried a heavy secret, one that could change everything. "Who are you?" Jake finally managed to ask, his voice a mix of curiosity and dread. It was the question that clawed at the back of his mind, demanding attention. She took a hesitant step closer, the crowd parting slightly as she moved through the remnants of a shattered evening. "My name is Lila," she said, her voice shaking but firm. I'm here because of you, Jake. You need to hear this." A murmur rippled through the crowd, whispers darting from one face to another. Sarah's hand found Jake's, her grip reassuring. Alex stepped closer, protective instincts flaring. "What's this about?" Alex asked, his tone fierce but perplexed. "This isn't a time for games." Lila's eyes glimmered with urgency, casting a glance at Jake that seemed to reach into his very core. "This is serious. You don't know everything about your father. What he's done, the secrets he's kept, they're more than just family issues. They go deeper, much deeper." Jake felt a cold wave of anxiety wash over him, the earlier ember of strength flickering. He wasn't ready for this. He wanted to push back against the tide of revelations threatening to drown him. "What do you mean?" he pressed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't explain here. Not with everyone listening. But I promise you, it's crucial. You deserve to know who you really are and what that means for your future." Her words fell heavy in the charged air. Jake thought about the weight of her statement, the implications swirling in his mind. Was this about more than just him and his father? Could his entire identity be wrapped up in this hidden truth? The crowd around him felt like shadows, silent witnesses to the unraveling of his life. "You don't have to do this alone, Jake," Sarah interjected, her support anchoring him. "We can figure it out together." He glanced at Alex, who gave a quick nod, urging him to move forward. The choice loomed before Jake, a fork in the road. He could walk away, retreating back into the familiar pain of familial discord, or he could take a leap of faith, allowing this stranger to guide him into the uncomfortable unknown. Taking a deep breath, Jake faced Lila, determination flickering like the candlelight around them. "Okay. Show me. Lead the way." Lila nodded, an expression of relief mingled with worry washing over her face. "Follow me, there's something I have to show you." With that, she turned, weaving through the crowd, her fiery hair a beacon amid the dim light. Jake's heart raced as he fell in step behind her, Sarah and Alex trailing close. Each step felt monumental, a journey into the uncharted territory of his family's secrets. The air felt electric with the possibility of discovery, yet anxiety lingered at the edges. What awaited him at the end of this path? Would he finally understand the truth buried beneath years of silence and misunderstanding? As they reached the doorway leading outside, Lila paused and turned. Her intense gaze held Jake captive. "This will change everything," she warned, her voice hushed. "Are you ready for that?" Jake looked back at Sarah and Alex, their unwavering support igniting courage within him. He gave a steady nod, feeling a blend of hope and fear tight in his chest. But as they stepped out into the cool evening air, a flicker of uncertainty made him pause. What if the truth was more devastating than he could handle? The moment hung in the balance, a heartbeat away from revelation, a world outside waiting to open its doors. What awaited him beyond? And just as he took a step forward, the distant rumble of thunder echoed, a prelude to the storm of truths about to unfold. Jake stepped into the night, heart pounding with both fear and anticipation. Lila led the way, her fiery hair billowing like a flag of urgency around them. Sarah and Alex trailed behind, their presence a reassuring reminder that he wasn't alone in this moment of reckoning. They walked down the quiet street, the silence of their small town enveloping them like a shroud. Streetlights flickered above, casting shadows that danced across the pavement. Jake's mind raced, contemplating the unknowns that lay ahead, secrets, rendezvous of the past, and the remnants of a family he longed to understand. Finally, they arrived at a small, unassuming cafe that had seen better days. "In here," Lila urged, her voice barely above a whisper. The three of them followed her inside. The place was empty, a refuge from prying eyes, perfect for uncovering truths hidden beneath the surface. Once seated in a booth at the back, Lila took a deep breath. "I know this is all sudden, but you need to understand your father has been carrying secrets that may change everything for you, for your family." Jake's stomach twisted. "What do you mean? What kind of secrets?" "Things that have shaped him, shaped your family history. It's not just about business and wealth, it's personal." Lila's gaze locked onto his, a mix of urgency and concern. "There's a reason your father demands so much from you, just spit it out." Alex's frustration broke through, but Jake appreciated his brother's protectiveness. "What are we talking about?" Lila hesitated for a moment, her eyes flashing with something poignant. Finally, she pressed on. "Years ago, your father lost everything in a scandal that was swept under the rug. His rise to power came on the back of a hidden truth, one that has haunted him and has led him to push you to be perfect." A lump formed in Jake's throat as pieces began to connect. "What kind of scandal?" "Adoption. Your father adopted you and never told you the truth." Lila stumbled over the words, each one cascading deeper into Jake's reality. "He feared losing you, Jake. Fearing his past would shatter your life. That's why he pushes you so hard to protect you from ever knowing that truth." Silence swallowed the room as the words sank in. Jake stared at Lila, then exchanged glances with Sarah and Alex. Confusion surged within him, the realization wrapping around his heart like a vice. "You're telling me I'm not his blood?" he whispered, fear lacing each word. Lila nodded, her voice solemn. "He's always loved you as his own, but he lost his original family in painful ways. That's why he pushes you to succeed. He believes it's the only way to redeem himself." Jake's mind swirled. He replayed moments with his father, the long conversations, the shoulders that carried family burdens, the pride and sadness woven into their discussions. Realization hit like a tidal wave. So he's been trying to create the perfect son because he never felt worthy of a family. Lila's steady gaze pierced through him. "Exactly. But Jake, you need to choose: go back and confront him with this new understanding, or continue on the path you're on, free from the weight of expectations you never asked for." His heart raced, the weight of the decision heavy on him. He had the opportunity to reshape everything: his relationship with his father, with Sarah, with himself. "I don't want to hide anymore," Jake said finally, his voice strong. "I want to be real, not just a title, but me. I want my family, whoever they are, to know the truth." With Lila's words echoing in his mind, he rose from his seat, determination pushing him forward. "Let us go back. I need to face my father." The three of them nodded, stepping out into the night, more than just shadows, but an unstoppable force of love and support. With every step he took, he felt lighter, freer from the chains of expectation. He was no longer just a hidden billionaire. He was Jake, the brother, the son, the man who wouldn't be afraid of transparency. The journey back felt different. He could almost hear the hopeful whispers of the townsfolk as they returned, echoing in their dreams. Jake entered the community hall where it all began, heart pounding with the urgency of truth in his veins. As they pushed through the doors, the weight of the gathered community pressed around them like a tide. He saw his father standing at the front, still commanding, still expectant. But this time, Jake was ready. "Dad," he called, drawing every gaze in the room to him. His father turned, confusion flickering across his face. "I know the truth now," Jake declared, pride swelling in him, surrounding him. "I'm not afraid to face it. I'm not just your son. I'm Jake, and I want to understand you." Gasps echoed through the crowd, but Jake felt at peace, empowered by the love that surrounded him, the love he had fought for with Emma, Sarah, and Alex by his side. He was ready to break free and unite them all, come what may. In that moment, as silence fell around him, he realized what it truly meant to love, not just the fairy tale version of it, but the raw, gritty truth that unites families and hearts in powerful, authentic ways. And there it was, the spark of hope that everyone could feel, the promise of transformation for them all. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.